Welcome back to r/revenge stories, where we read satisfying revenge stories from 4 different subreddits. If you are new around here and enjoy my content, please don't forget to subscribe, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is from r/pettyrevenge and is titled, "My landlord was kind of a witch, so I pay her rent at the latest possible time." So my landlord is kind of a witch sometimes. I believe in being frank and honest with whoever I am renting with, so they can prepare and they know what's up. When the virus hit, I gave a heads up that we would be fine for a few months due to savings, but it is possible we might run into some issues if the lockdowns last too long, but no worries, we would get caught up as soon as we could get going on our 3 businesses. She gave this big lecture about how if we cannot pay, we need to move out, and she has lawyers for things like this and will send us a 1-month letter. I blew it off after telling her that she should really talk to that lawyer, since she legally cannot kick anyone out right now and he would set her straight. 2 months later I talked and said things are getting a bit tight and we might run into trouble in a month or 2, but I will make sure you at least have a month notice. A few days later, the local paper put out info that Illinois might pass a rent freeze and allow affected landlords and such to get paid out a pot, so everyone was okay. This was great news. I shared her the link and she calls me on the phone to bark at me about how I need to just move out if I cannot pay, and she has bills to pay and worry about, and she will call her lawyer if she has to. I hung up on her mid-sentence, she called again, I ignored it, she texted me the same thing she was complaining about. I told her she needs to stop making idle threats, that the only time she has problems with me is when she's rude and I tell her to pound sand. And that whether she likes it or not, she's still bound to the law. Well, lucky for her, they have not wiped out late fees for late rent by law, but it is in my contract that we can pay up until the 5th with no late fee. So now, instead of paying 2 or 3 days early, I have a monthly alarm set and I send her funds at 10 minutes before the cutoff and take a screenshot. If they waive late fees and evictions at any point, I fully on intend to withhold and save her rent until the latest legal day possible to avoid any penalties and pay her then. And guys, I'm curious, in regards to the virus, did you have any issues with paying rent? Or if you are a landlord, did you have any tenants that could not pay in time? Let us know what sort of issues the whole pandemic caused for you in the comments. I mean, personally, I gotta say, my demonetization was not really related to the pandemic, but it still happened at a bad point in time. And the next one is a pretty juicy story from r/nuclearrevenge and it is titled, "Treat me like a maid and threaten me? I will just make you homeless." I've been thinking about whether to post this or not for a while, so here it goes. Sorry if it is in the wrong subreddit, this is not a fake story, I promise you, but this dragged over a number of months. This is a long one, so bear with me. The cast for this will be me, the one that should have known better, BF, my lovable hero boyfriend, F, old flatmate who's the spawn of Satan, FB, spawn of Satan's play toy, and finally, the landlord. So, I have known F for a number of years and we had a good friendship up until a year ago. I was a hormonal young woman that wanted to have her own space and F felt the same, so we put our money together and rented a flat. But when I say our money, I mean 70% mine and 30% hers. I did not have a problem with it at first because I was just glad to not have my mom in my ear 24/7. I even paid for all the furniture in the flat just for everything to be broken, ripped or messed up with food and cigarette butts. That comes later. I had BF stay with me in my room and it was amazing, and F had FB stay with her. Now boyfriend and I live in our own flat in a different city, because poop hit the fan in more ways than one. Now, I don't have a friend, but I am better off that way, because that was no friend. In the beginning, me and F opened a joint account for bills and kept our separate accounts so bills did not fall on one person. Which I come to find a few months later that when I got paid, end of the month, F took the money from the account until their payday, which was on a set date every month. This led to unpaid bills and calls coming through to me from companies chasing for money. When I confronted F about it, they said they needed to travel, but I knew it was going to go to drugs for F and FB. They did some weird stuff. I know I should have known better and nipped it in the bud there and then, but no. F even begged me for money after taking money out of the account every month, and me being me lent it to her. F paid nothing towards food shopping, but F and FB ate every last thing. If money was not an issue, cleanliness was. Plates, cups and pots left all over the kitchen, and I was mismade, expected to clean everything, which I did because I have OCD and cannot stand mess. If you saw it, you would understand. When I finally put my foot down, F told me that BF left plates on the side too. BF left and told F that his plates were on the side overnight, hers were there for 6 days. F still took the piss and never cleaned up unless I said anything, like I was her mother. After that, FB waited until BF left the flat to go to the shop and shouted at me, telling me to sort myself out before he does, blah blah blah, empty threats. FB did not realize I was on the phone to BF, and BF came back to the flat. Before he got through the door, FB ran out, slamming my door and calling me a bitch while running away like a pussy because he's scared of BF. That is actually true, but it is too long to add. Bear in mind, BF is like the BFG. And I'm not sure exactly in this context what BFG means, but if you know, please let us know in the comments. Either way, one day F and FB went away without a word, and F had taken things from my room, my hair straightener, my jumper and my brush, so I went into their room to retrieve them. The smell that hit my nose when I opened the door made me so angry, I don't know why, but immediately I got on the phone with the landlord. This is the revenge part. The landlord came over the next day while F and FB were still out and saw the state that F left the flat in. He was so livid he swore and apologized to me. He was sweet, but said he wanted to issue her a notice to leave the flat and gave me permission to stay. Although I was thankful of his generous offer, I did not want to stay where I felt such bad energy. Before he issued the notice, I called BF and asked him to arrange a removal van while I contact a storage company to rent a locker. I then dismantled and packed the furniture from the kitchen, bathroom and living room, packed up the van and kept my things safe. God knows F would have stolen them. When FB and F got back, F saw the notice and furniture gone. She got so mad she stormed out. The notice had mentioned that the cleanliness of the flat was disgusting, the loud music had been reported by neighbors, they had a boombox playing at anti-social hours, and smoking in the flat was not allowed, which F knew before signing the agreement. F never spoke a word to me after the notice was served and left the flat before the 2 months was up. The dumbasses left her bedroom windows open and tried to sneak in later that evening, but I shut them and made sure they were locked with the key. The door key was changed by the landlord immediately after F and FB left. Me and BF stayed about a month later to make sure the flat was presentable to new tenants before we moved on. We now live in a much nicer area and are trying for our first baby. Wish us luck. Oh, also, F and FB broke up. I heard through the grapevine. F burned every last bridge with her family and even called BF for money. Thankfully, he did not help her. We have not heard a word from her since, and I could not be happier to be rid of that leech. And guys, if you have watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me. Now that I'm remonetized again, I finally hope that my channel grows again due to the YouTube recommendations coming in once again, at least I hope so. Therefore, each and every single like and comment will help me tremendously. Either way guys, I'm curious, have you ever lived with a roommate? If you have any funny or interesting stories to tell, please feel free to share them in the comments or on r/ripestories. And the next one is titled, Racist Boss Harassed Puerto Rican Employees and Broke Labor Laws. Ended up getting deported. And please excuse me if I pronounce Puerto Rican incorrectly. I worked at a fairly well-known restaurant in a small northern New England city as an assistant manager. The owners were very successful restaurateurs with several successful non-chain establishments and spent maybe a day or two a month in our location. The rest of the time there was a general manager in charge. We will call her Jan. Or Jan is at least what I would call that person, because I'm not sure how to pronounce that name in English. Jan was about as type A as they come. She was a middle-aged woman, but beautiful and petite, and she always looked put together and primped. Jan had started with the owners a decade earlier in their first restaurant as a server and had worked her way up to general manager over the years. At first I just thought she had extremely high standards, which I respected. I have high standards as well and take pride in my work. I had been impressed by how the kitchens were spotless, the staff was immaculate, like run a white-gloved hand under the back of the oven and it comes back white kind of clean, and the food was always top quality. I had frequently been a customer and was thrilled that I got the job there. I had been in the business for a decade and that restaurant was the place in our area. I was so excited. Unfortunately, I quickly learned why everything is so shining and perfect. Jan was a tyrant. She was the kind of boss who soured the mood of the entire staff like a storm cloud hovering over us that never went away. Nothing was ever good enough and the standards changed from day to day. On a good day she would shut herself up in the office and then leave early. Good days were very rare and could turn into bad days at the drop of a dime. On bad days you could not be perfect enough and she would come up with new rules and regulations just to punish people. If a host called out sick, they were literal children, she would berate them on the phone and make them cry. If a cook made a mistake on a plate, she would humiliate them in front of the staff, accuse them of doing it on purpose, and then give us all the silent treatment for hours after. Seriously. If someone's cash out was off, even by a few cents, she would accuse them of theft and force me to cut down their hours. As a fellow manager, I was mostly spared her awful behavior, though I had to hear about her treatment from my staff almost every day. All of this was just run-of-the-mill bad boss stuff until it came time for our yearly staff evaluation meetings. This is where Raul enters the story. Raul was a hard-working dishwasher who had moved to our state from Puerto Rico a few years earlier and spoke English with some difficulty. Whenever I had to go over anything official with him, we would have a coworker translate between us to be sure we were both communicating clearly. Jan refused this courtesy to Raul. This made his evaluation pretty difficult. Raul managed to communicate to us that due to recent cuts in his hours, he would be forced to get a second job to pay the bills. Something about this absolutely set Jan off. She told him she would fire him if he dared. I could see plainly on the intake paperwork in front of me that Raul had been hired with the understanding that it would be a full-time position, so I pointed that out. Jan was furious but agreed through gritted teeth that if Raul agreed not to get a second job, she would bump his hours up to at least 35 hours a week. It was stated as clear as day and I documented it in my daily manager logbook. Work went on as usual after that and I did not think much of this meeting again for a few months. Another time, a while later, while filing out information for tax returns, Jan called me into the office. I could tell she had pulled the tiny room apart looking for something.
All the information about our Puerto Rican employees is gone,
she told me with a mixture of panic and suspicion. I looked at the files in question and they all seemed to be in order, so I was confused and told her I could not help. A few minutes later, I walked back in the office to find her arguing with Rosa, our most talented chef and a Puerto Rican native. Rosa was perfectly fluent in English.
"No, Rosa,"
Jan was speaking to Rosa as though she were hard of hearing or mentally slow.
"Where is your green card?"
"What are you talking about?" Rosa was confused.
"Are you an illegal or something? Is that why one of you broke in here? To hide the proof?"
Jan was not yelling, but her eyes were cold and flashing with rage. "What?" Rosa was starting to get angry now. It suddenly clicked for me, so I interrupted. "Jan, do you realize that Puerto Rico is a United States territory, right?"
"Of course I know that."
Jan snapped back. "Okay, so you know that Rosa has a social security number like any other American native."
Oh right, never mind Rosa, you can go back to work.
Jan did not apologize for accusing Rosa of theft, so I was so done with this place after that. Jan did all kinds of little things like that and she never apologized. I had already gotten a job offer for a place closer to my house when the final straw came. I was the closing manager one day and got in just before the dinner rush to see Raoul storming out the back door. He did not speak much English, but his "damn witch" was very clear. Jan had lied about raising his hours to 35 per week, so Raoul had gotten the second job he talked about. When Jan found out, she fired him, but not before saying something about how
all you illegals are the same.
She was really fixated on these American citizens being illegal aliens for some reason. By this point, I effing hated this woman too. She once told me my clothing made me look poor in front of their whole staff. I was wearing what she made me wear, meanwhile she wore open-toed shoes behind the line, which is against the health codes, and once her fake nail fell off into the coleslaw and she would not let anyone toss it out after she retrieved it. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but I have a life to live. Since I knew I would be leaving soon anyway, I told Raoul he should go after our boss for wrongful termination, since I had documented proof with Jan's signature that he had been promised more hours and that Jan had broken the agreement, not Raoul. The last time I saw Jan was on my way out of Raoul's lawyer's office, after giving a deposition about several labor laws she had violated. At least the ones that I knew about. Apparently there were many others she had broken in front of other employees. She could not even look me in the eye. The best part? At my deposition I learned that Jan was actually the one who was illegally in the country. Her green card had recently expired. She was Canadian, she ended up being sent back to Canada as a result of this case, and no one has heard from her since. Raoul was granted 6 months of unemployment pay, plus the restaurant had to pay his legal fees. They closed that location not long after. Maybe they should hire their managers more carefully next time. Jan, if you are reading this, I hope you got your stuff together. I also hope you learned to wear closed-toe shoes behind the line. You would not want to end up a huge gigantic F-up due to your own negligence, now would you? And Ripe Stars, I really enjoy how someone in the comments said, "I would just like to say we did not want her back. Signed, a Canadian." In addition, I'm curious guys, have you ever witnessed any blatantly racist rants by coworkers or even your bosses at work? Let us know in the comments. And guys, the next one is from r/ProRevenge and is titled "Landlord ended up paying me £3,000, which is around, I guess, $3,400. Here is a little backstory, quite lengthy, but it is necessary because I am a 21 female and an international student in the UK. When I started first year in university, the apartment I was renting out was a last minute thing. Basically, I did not have a choice. Before moving in, my friend and I paid our deposit, £1,200, aka $1,500 in total. After moving in, the place was actually great, 5-minute walk to university, great location. The first incident was that both our bed's legs, friend and mine, were very bent. I brought this up to my landlord and he said that he would be happy to replace them at our own cost, and we had to leave the beds after we have moved out. Let that sink in. So basically he wants me to buy a new bed for his apartment. We were like, screw that. The second incident was when there were a lot of break-ins around the area we lived in. Eventually, the homeless and drug users were camping in our apartment, stealing people's parcels, letters, and even taking drugs in the hallways. Well, that certainly sounds like a very nice area. Either way, my friend and I felt extremely unsafe, so I texted my landlord requesting another lock for our front door. There was only one lock, which was the main lock, and his response was that it would be too expensive to do that and that he is sure that the area is safe. By the way, that is coming from the guy who does not even live there. The third incident was after I moved out. I called him asking him what I should do with the keys. He told me to hang onto them until he gets back. About 3 weeks later, he contacts me asking for the keys, which were not with me at the time as I was away. The keys were in my new house and my room door was locked. So I had my landlord and housemate get my spare room key and give it to the guy. There is so much more, but those 3 incidents are the most significant ones. A few days later, I texted him asking him about my deposit. He did not respond until the next day. I woke up to a text from him telling me to call him, so I did. He told me he's taking all the deposit money because I broke the bed and I left the apartment completely trashed, so he had to hire cleaners. We got into a pretty heated argument and I have not spoken to him since. Obviously, I am not letting him get away with it, so I got in contact with a deposit claim agent recommended by my university. My ex-landlord is not so smart after all, because by law, he is supposed to put the deposit money into a tenancy deposit scheme, which he didn't. Easily let alone, I got my deposit back plus compensation. He ended up paying my friend and I $1,500 each. The additional money goes to the deposit agency. And guys, I am genuinely curious, did you ever have any run-ins with scumbag landlords? Please let us know your personal experiences in the comments. The next one is from r/nuclearrevenge and is titled, "So you want to take my fridge for free by tricking me? Joke's on you." This is sort of an outsmart and sort of a r/regular revenge story, I think. So my dad had a store that is at least 3 floors underground. This store was being closed down and we had to hand it over to the property owner empty. If there's anything that they would need to discard themselves, they would charge us a highly inflated price. After we emptied out the store, the last item left was a 4 doors Coca-Cola fridge that you can see in your typical gas station/deli. If the property owner/management has to discard it, that means the charge alone for discarding will cost us not only our deposit, but then some. We have called the Coca-Cola distributor who gave us that fridge to pick it up, and they said that the age of the fridge and being under 3 floors down, the cost to take it with them will not be worth it for them. They won't take it back. Then my dad asked me to hire some people on our own and pay them to properly discard it. I asked my dad, being the fridge running at all, what if I get to sell it? To which he replied, if I can, then whatever I get for it is mine. I go to his business district where you can find new and used restaurant items being sold and bought, tried a couple of stores with the pictures of the fridge in my phone, and most said if it was on the street level they would pay me $500 to $600 depending upon condition of it. But they will not pull it up 3 flights of stairs. Then I found a guy who had a flatbed truck and said he's willing to give me $400 for it. He and his folks will pick it up. Great. Few hours later, I go to that store along with him and his buddy. I know, 2 people to pull that fridge up. I was just wondering about that myself. I removed the shelves of the fridge so that when they drag it up, the glass doors do not get destroyed. These 2 guys pulled the whole darn thing up all by themselves to my amazement, as I was praying that they don't get crashed to death underneath it, as I will be liable for it. After they put it in the flatbed, they tell me that they will not pay anything for it, and if I do not like the deal, then I myself can take it off of their truck and do whatever I want with it. I see that they put me in a pickle, to which I respond, fine, just take it. The main guy then says, guy,
okay, can you give me the shelves from the store?
I locked the store up when they took it out of the door. Me, I cannot open it back again, since we have to vacate the premises for today. I will hand over the keys tomorrow, and then I will pick it up and keep it for you, I guess. Now the petty revenge part. The next day this guy calls me back. Guy,
hey, can I get those shelves please? I cannot do anything with this fridge without those shelves.
Me, sure, it will only cost you $400. Guy,
what? Then I will go and leave the fridge into that store or next to it.
Me, be my guest. We have officially handed the keys over, and that place is not my responsibility anymore. Anyone throwing any trashes there will be responsible for their action. And you know, this place is full of surveillance cameras. Guy,
you said we are gonna go back in today.
Me, just like you lied and played me, I lied too. Right after you left, I went back in, got those shelves and handed our keys to them. Guy curses me a lot.
Tell me where you live.
I just hang up and block his number. I used my Google Voice number for him, so it was very easy. My parents asked what happened. I said, sure, I did not make any money, but you wanted to pay for it to be removed. Look at the bright side, I got it removed for free. Guys, I gotta say, what I find really interesting about this story is that OP says the store is 3 floors underground. To be honest with you, I've never seen any store 3 floors underground. If you have ever witnessed something like this, let us know in the comments. And by the way, you might have noticed, finally I am remonetized again. So that unfortunately means for you that I have to bother you with advertisements. However, in return, I also don't have to do the stupid facecam anymore. So I think that is a win for all of us. And with that, we have reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's content, and if you did, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to join our amazing community. Furthermore, don't forget to go to r/ripe stories on Reddit to post your own stories if you want me to read them out in a video. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I see you again tomorrow.